In the kingdom of Solara, excitement filled the air. Today was the day of the Grand Parade, the most colorful and lively event of the year. Streets were lined with people of all ages. Children ran around waving small flags, and merchants sold sweet treats and bright balloons. Music echoed from every corner, drums beating in rhythm while flutes and trumpets joined in a cheerful harmony. Everyone wanted to see the parade, especially the royal procession, which came with floats, soldiers, and the king himself. Among the crowd was a little girl named Mila. She was small, with bright eyes and long brown hair tied into a neat braid. She wore a simple yellow dress and held a small basket filled with fresh flowers she had picked early that morning. Mila was not like other children who simply came to watch the parade. She had always been curious and loved adventures. More importantly, she had a secret. Earlier that morning, Mila had noticed something unusual while walking near the palace gates. A man dressed in plain clothes had lingered near the entrance longer than normal. He kept glancing at the soldiers and the preparations for the parade. Mila didn't understand why he was acting strangely, but something in her heart told her to pay attention. She decided she must do something to warn the royal guard if needed. Mila remembered a plan she had made weeks ago with one of the kingdom's trusted guards, Liam. Liam was tall and strong with dark hair and kind eyes. He had noticed Mila's courage and quick thinking before. They had secretly agreed that if Mila ever saw danger, she would use a special signal with a small ribbon tied to her basket. Liam promised that if he saw this signal, he would act immediately no matter what was happening. The parade began as the first float moved slowly down the street. It was covered in bright flowers and sparkling decorations. Musicians played cheerful tunes and dancers twirled in colorful costumes. Mila watched in awe, her eyes wide with excitement, but she didn't take her attention away from the palace gates. She needed to be careful and observant. She held her ribbon tightly in her small hand, ready to signal Liam at the right moment. Soldiers marched in straight lines, their shiny uniforms reflecting the morning sun. Among them was Liam, standing tall and alert. He carried his sword at his side, but today he did not expect to use it. He smiled politely at the crowd, nodding as children waved and shouted his name. Little did he know Mila's signal might change the entire parade. As the floats passed by, Mila noticed the man again. He seemed nervous, glancing around quickly and moving closer to the route where the king would soon appear. Mila's heart started to beat faster. She could feel the tension in the air, even though the crowd around her was cheerful. Carefully, she raised her hand and began moving the ribbon in the secret pattern she and Liam had practiced. Across the street, Liam spotted the ribbon. His eyes widened in recognition. He immediately understood. There was danger nearby and he had to act carefully to protect the king. But the parade was in full swing, with thousands of people watching. Liam knew that stopping it suddenly could cause panic. He needed a plan and he needed to act fast. Mila stayed behind the safety of the crowd, holding her ribbon and watching Liam closely. She felt a mix of fear and pride. She had never helped the kingdom in such a big way before. She hoped Liam would notice her and act quickly. The mysterious man continued to move slowly toward the main gates, unaware that his plan had already been discovered. Liam whispered to his fellow guards, giving them silent signals. They understood immediately and began to move subtly into position. The crowd was still cheering, unaware of what was about to happen. Mila's hands trembled slightly as she clutched her ribbon, but her eyes stayed focused. She knew that in this moment, even a little girl could make a difference, and so, the grand parade continued, full of color and music, while behind the scenes, the little girl and the royal guard prepared for a moment that could change everything. The parade moved slowly down the main street of Solara. Bright banners fluttered in the wind and the sound of drums and trumpets filled the air. Children clapped and cheered while adults waved from the sidewalks. Every float seemed more beautiful than the last. There were floats with glittering flowers, ones shaped like giant animals, and even a small castle float that carried performers dressed like princes and princesses. Mila stayed close to the crowd barrier, her small hands gripping the ribbon tightly. She watched the soldiers march with perfect precision, their polished boots striking the ground in unison. In the middle of the soldiers, Liam kept his eyes carefully scanning the crowd and the parade route. He had already seen Mila's secret signal. His heart beat fast, but he stayed calm. He knew that keeping calm was the most important thing in protecting the king and the people. The man Mila had noticed earlier was moving carefully, almost like he did not want anyone to notice him. He wore plain clothes, blending in with the crowd, but Liam could spot his suspicious behavior from a distance. Liam whispered instructions to the guards next to him, and they subtly moved into positions to block the man if necessary. No one in the crowd suspected anything. To them, it was just another exciting day of celebration. Mila's stomach fluttered with nervousness. She had never done anything this important before. She was just a little girl, but she knew she had a role to play. She kept her eyes fixed on the man and the guards, ready to wave her ribbon again if needed. Even though she was small, she felt powerful. She realized that courage was not about size or strength. It was about paying attention and acting at the right moment. As the king's float came into view, the crowd cheered louder than ever. The king waved from his seat, smiling warmly at his people. His golden robe shone in the sunlight, and his crown sparkled with jewels. The float was carried by strong horses, their hooves clattering on the cobblestones. Mila's heart pounded. The man was now dangerously close to the route, and Liam needed to make a decision quickly. Liam took a deep breath and moved closer to the king's float, keeping his movements calm and controlled. His eyes never left the suspicious man. Behind him, the other guards adjusted their positions silently, surrounding the area. They were ready to act, but they had to be careful. Any sudden move could startle the horses or cause the crowd to panic. Liam signaled to the other guards to stay calm and to keep watching. Mila knew she could not just watch. She waved the ribbon once more, this time a little higher so Liam could see it clearly. Liam saw it and nodded slightly, signaling that he understood and was ready. The tension in the air grew, but the music of the parade continued, hiding the silent alert that had passed between Mila and the guard. The man hesitated. He glanced around nervously and slowed his pace. He did not expect that anyone had noticed him, especially not a little girl with a basket of flowers. Mila's heart raced as she realized that her quick thinking and courage had already caused the man to pause. Liam's sharp eyes and careful movements made it clear that the king would be safe. Mila's small hands trembled, but she felt proud. She knew she had made a difference, even if the crowd did not notice. She had never imagined that she could play such an important role in the kingdom. The guards were prepared to act at any second, but Liam remained calm, ready to protect the king and the people with skill and care. The parade moved forward slowly, with the music playing and the floats gliding past the cheering crowd. Yet behind the scenes, a silent drama was unfolding. Mila had sent her secret signal, Liam had understood it, and the kingdom was about to witness courage in an unexpected place. Mila smiled to herself. She realized that sometimes bravery was quiet and unnoticed, but it could still make a huge difference. The day had started as a celebration, but for Mila it had become an adventure she would never forget. And as the king's float drew closer, she knew that the moment for her courage to shine had arrived. The king's float was almost at the center of the main street, moving slowly under the bright morning sun. Children leaned over the barriers trying to get a closer look while adults clapped and cheered. The parade looked perfect to anyone watching, but Mila's eyes were fixed on the man who had been acting suspiciously since morning. She could see him moving with careful steps as if he knew he had been noticed. Mila's hand tightened around her ribbon. She knew that this was the moment to signal Liam clearly and carefully. Raising her hand high, she waved the ribbon in the secret pattern they had practiced many times. Her heart beat fast, but she did not falter. She had to be brave. Liam noticed immediately. His eyes widened, and he gave a small, almost invisible nod to his fellow guards. Liam moved swiftly but quietly to adjust the positions of the other soldiers. They moved like shadows, blending with the marching formations. No one in the crowd suspected anything unusual. The music of the parade and the laughter of the children covered the silent tension that hung over the scene. Liam's mind worked quickly. He needed to stop the parade at the right moment without alarming anyone too much. The suspicious man took a cautious step closer to the king's float. Liam noticed his hand twitching near his pocket. That small movement made Liam's heart race. He understood immediately that he had to act, but carefully. If the crowd panicked, chaos could erupt, and that would put everyone at risk. Liam signaled to another guard to block one side of the street, while he positioned himself closer to the front of the float. Mila watched nervously from the edge of the crowd. She felt a mix of fear and excitement. She knew that her small ribbon had already helped Liam notice the danger, but she also knew that the moment was far from over. She had never imagined that something she did could have such a big effect. Her heart pounded in her chest as she silently wished for the king to be safe. Suddenly, Liam raised his hand in a clear command. The soldiers around him froze in their positions. Their precise steps slowed until they completely stopped. The music, which had been cheerful and lively, came to an abrupt pause. Children gasped and adults turned toward the guards, confused by the sudden halt. The entire parade had stopped and the crowd watched in surprise. The king looked toward Liam with a questioning expression. Liam leaned slightly forward and whispered in the king's ear, explaining the situation calmly. The king's eyes widened, but he remained composed. Meanwhile, the suspicious man froze. He realized that the parade had stopped because someone had noticed him. The man tried to retreat, but Liam and the other guards blocked every exit. Mila's eyes sparkled with relief. She had helped prevent something dangerous. She could see Liam's serious expression soften for a brief moment as he glanced toward her and nodded. She smiled slightly, knowing that her signal had worked exactly as planned. The man was surrounded and there was no way he could get close to the king now. Even though the crowd was confused, they remained calm. The soldiers maintained their positions, ensuring that everyone stayed safe. The floats waited patiently, and the performers held still in their colorful costumes. Mila felt proud. She realized that even though she was small, her courage had made a huge difference. The man finally stopped struggling and lowered his head. Liam approached him carefully, speaking quietly but firmly. The other guards watched closely, ready to step in if needed. Mila could see the relief on Liam's face. Everything was under control now, thanks to her quick thinking and the careful actions of the guards. The king waved gently at the crowd, signaling that everything was fine. Mila stayed behind the barrier, clutching her ribbon, feeling proud and excited. She had never thought that a simple ribbon and a little courage could stop a dangerous situation and protect the king. And so, the parade remained still for a moment, with everyone watching silently as the little girl's secret signal had changed the course of the day. Mila learned that even the smallest action, done at the right time, could make a big difference. The kingdom of Solara was safe, and the adventure of Mila and Liam was only beginning. The street was unusually quiet. The music had stopped, and even the children who had been laughing and running now stood frozen. Their wide eyes followed the soldiers as they surrounded the suspicious man. Mila stayed behind the barrier, holding her ribbon tightly. Her small hands trembled slightly, but her eyes shone with pride. She had never imagined that her secret signal could make such a difference. Guard Liam remained calm, though his mind was racing. He carefully approached the man, keeping his movements slow and controlled. The suspicious man looked around nervously, realizing that his plan had been discovered. The crowd did not yet know what had happened, but Liam knew that keeping the situation under control was the most important thing. "Sir," Liam said quietly, speaking firmly but without anger, "you cannot go any further. Please stay where you are." The man hesitated. He looked at the soldiers surrounding him and then back at the parade, which had stopped completely. There was no way to move forward, and there was no way to escape unnoticed. Mila felt her heart beat faster. She watched as the other guards positioned themselves strategically. Some stood near the crowd, making sure everyone stayed calm, while others blocked side streets. Every movement was precise, and every guard knew their role. Mila realized how important planning and teamwork were, even in moments of danger. The king, sitting in his golden float, watched carefully. He trusted his guards completely, and he had faith that the situation was being handled. He waved at the crowd with a calm smile, signaling that there was no need to panic. The people around him cheered quietly, though some were curious about why the parade had stopped. They could see the soldiers' serious faces and knew that something important was happening. Mila's eyes were glued to the man. He seemed to realize that his plan had failed. He lowered his head slightly and stopped moving. Liam signaled to the other guards, and they closed in just a little, ensuring there was no chance of trouble. The man was trapped, but he was not harming anyone. Everything depended on keeping calm and acting carefully. Mila felt a sense of relief wash over her. Her ribbon had worked. Her signal had allowed Liam to notice the danger in time. She had played a small but crucial part in protecting the king and the crowd. Her chest swelled with pride, and she realized that even someone as small as her could make a big difference. The parade performers waited patiently on their floats, holding their poses with bright smiles. Musicians rested their instruments quietly, ready to resume once the situation was resolved. The crowd whispered among themselves, unsure of what had happened but trusting the soldiers to manage it. Mila understood that courage was not always about loud actions. Sometimes it was about careful observation and quick thinking. After a few tense minutes, Liam gave a signal to the other guards to ease their positions. The suspicious man was escorted away from the parade route calmly and quietly. He was not causing harm now, and the immediate danger had passed. Mila exhaled a long, shaky breath. The tension in her small body melted into relief and pride. She had helped stop something that could have caused trouble, and she had done it without anyone noticing. The king looked toward Liam and nodded with approval. Liam returned the nod and then glanced toward Mila. He smiled slightly, giving her a subtle wave. Mila waved back, feeling her small heart overflow with happiness. She had helped the kingdom in a way no one else could have expected. She had been brave, quick-thinking, and smart. Slowly, the parade began to move again. The drums beat lightly at first, then the music swelled. Floats started moving, dancers twirled, and children clapped with joy. The parade returned to its cheerful rhythm. But for Mila, the day had become much more than just celebration. It had become an adventure, a story of courage and quick thinking. Mila clutched her basket of flowers and smiled to herself. She realized that sometimes the smallest actions could make the biggest difference. She had sent a simple ribbon signal, but it had stopped danger and protected the kingdom. She had discovered a courage she never knew she had. And she would never forget this day, and so the grand parade of Solara continued brighter and more joyful than before, while a little girl and a brave guard shared a secret moment of triumph. The parade slowly regained its cheerful rhythm. The musicians played lively tunes and dancers moved gracefully on their floats. The crowd cheered again, waving flags and clapping hands. For most people, it was just another exciting parade day in the kingdom of Solara. But for Mila, the day had already become unforgettable. She held her basket tightly, her small fingers brushing against the ribbon she had used to send her secret signal. Her heart still raced with excitement and pride. Guard Liam stayed near the king's float, keeping a watchful eye on the crowd and the surroundings. He was alert, but there was a small smile on his face as he glanced toward Mila. The little girl had shown remarkable courage, and Liam wanted to make sure she felt appreciated. He gave her a subtle nod, a silent message that said, "You did well." Mila smiled back shyly, her cheeks turning pink. She felt proud and happy that Liam had noticed her bravery. As the floats moved forward, Mila noticed some of the other guards whispering quietly to one another. They were glancing toward her with smiles as if they knew what she had done. Mila felt a warm glow in her chest. She had never thought that a small action, like waving a ribbon, could bring so much attention and respect. For a moment, she imagined herself as a real hero in the kingdom, someone whose quick thinking could help others and protect the people she loved. The king waved to the crowd, his golden robe shining in the sunlight. He looked calm and happy, unaware of the danger that had just passed. Mila knew that the king's safety had been secured because of her quick thinking and Liam's swift action. She felt proud that she had played a small but important role in keeping the day joyful for everyone. Suddenly, a group of children ran up to the barrier where Mila was standing. They had noticed the ribbon on her basket and were curious. "Where did you get that ribbon?" one little boy asked, pointing at the bright color fluttering in the sunlight. Mila hesitated, unsure how to answer. She knew it was a secret signal, but she also wanted to feel included in the excitement around her. "It's a special ribbon," Mila said softly, "but it's a secret." The children looked at her with wide eyes. They were fascinated, not knowing the ribbon had just helped prevent a possible danger. Mila smiled at them, feeling happy to share a small part of her courage without revealing everything. The children clapped for her and she laughed quietly, feeling lighter and braver than ever. Meanwhile, Liam continued to observe the parade carefully. He noticed that everything was back in order. The suspicious man had been taken away and the crowd remained calm. He allowed himself a small moment to relax and thought about how remarkable Mila had been. She had remained calm under pressure, had understood the danger, and had acted immediately. Liam knew that not many adults could have done what she had done. The floats passed by with even more energy than before. Dancers twirled, musicians played, and children waved from the sidelines. Mila felt a warm sense of pride as she watched the parade continue. She realized that courage came in many forms, and even a small girl could change the outcome of an event in the kingdom. She knew that bravery was not about being big or strong. It was about noticing what others might miss and acting with care and confidence. As the parade neared its final destination, Mila's eyes met Liam's one more time. He smiled, giving her a small thumbs up. Mila waved back with both hands, her ribbon bouncing slightly in the sunlight. She felt an excitement she had never experienced before. She had helped protect the kingdom, kept the king safe, and had done it all with a small ribbon and her quick thinking. Mila's heart swelled with happiness. She understood that her courage had been noticed and that even the smallest actions could make a big difference. Today, the grand parade had become more than a celebration of the kingdom. It had become a story of bravery, teamwork, and hope. And for Mila, it was the beginning of a new adventure she would always remember. The grand parade of Solara was almost at its final stretch. Floats shimmered in the sunlight, musicians played lively tunes, and children's laughter filled the air. For most of the crowd, it was a joyful celebration. But for Mila, today had already become a day of adventure she would never forget. Her small hand still clutched her basket, and the bright ribbon she had used as a secret signal fluttered slightly in the gentle breeze. Guard Liam walked carefully alongside the king's float, keeping an eye on the crowd. He had been impressed with Mila's bravery and quick thinking, and now he wanted to ensure the little girl remained safe. The parade route was wide and colorful, but Liam knew that even in moments of celebration, safety was always important. Mila looked around and noticed people whispering quietly to each other. Some of the guards glanced at her with friendly smiles. She realized that her courage had caught their attention. A warm feeling of pride filled her heart. She had never expected that a small girl like her could make a difference, but now she understood that courage came in all shapes and sizes. As the floats moved forward, the crowd's excitement grew. Children ran along the sides, waving flags and clapping. Musicians played with energy, and dancers twirled gracefully on their floats. Mila watched the parade with wide eyes, feeling proud to have played a small but important role in keeping it safe. She held her ribbon carefully, knowing that it had been the key to alerting Liam and the other guards to the possible danger earlier. The king waved gently from his float, his golden robe shining in the sunlight. He smiled at the crowd, unaware of the secret events that had just unfolded. Liam kept a steady watch, making sure the final part of the parade went smoothly. He knew that the little girl had been the hero of the day. Mila had seen something no one else had noticed, and she had acted quickly and wisely. Suddenly, one of the younger guards whispered to Liam and pointed toward a small crowd gathered near the edge of the parade route. They were looking at Mila, whispering excitedly as if they had learned a little secret about her. Liam's eyes softened with pride. He realized that Mila's bravery was starting to be noticed by others, even though she had never sought attention. Mila noticed the whispers and turned slightly to see people looking at her. She felt shy at first, but also proud. The children waved at her and some of the adults smiled warmly. Mila understood that her small act of courage had earned her respect. Even though she had done nothing for recognition, people could see that she had made a difference. The parade continued with even more energy. Floats glided forward, and performers danced with bright smiles. The music filled the air, bringing joy to everyone watching. Mila held her basket tightly, thinking about how a simple ribbon and careful observation had helped protect the king and the parade. She realized that courage was not about being loud or strong. It was about noticing danger, acting carefully, and helping others when it mattered most. Liam walked past the little girl and gave her a small nod and a warm smile. Mila waved back, her eyes sparkling with excitement. She knew that she had done something important. Today she had learned that even the smallest person could make a huge difference. As the parade neared the palace gates, Mila's heart swelled with happiness. She had helped the kingdom, protected the king, and shown that bravery could come from anyone, even a little girl with a small ribbon. The crowd cheered loudly as the final floats passed and the musicians played their happiest tunes yet. Mila looked around and saw Liam watching her with pride. She smiled back, feeling proud of herself and excited for the adventures that might still come. She realized that today's events had changed her forever. She had learned about courage, quick thinking, and the power of even the smallest actions. And so, as the parade came to its joyful conclusion, Mila knew that she had been part of something truly special. The kingdom of Solara had celebrated not just its traditions and beauty, but also the bravery of a little girl who had acted wisely and fearlessly when it mattered most. The grand parade of Solara had reached the final stretch near the palace gates. The floats moved gracefully, Dancers twirled with bright smiles, and the music filled the streets with cheerful energy. The crowd cheered loudly, waving flags and clapping. For most, it was just the joyful end of a beautiful celebration. But for Mila, it was a moment of pride she would never forget. Mila held her basket tightly, her fingers brushing against the bright ribbon she had used to signal guard Liam earlier. She could feel her small heart beating with excitement and relief. Today had started like any other parade, but it had turned into a story of bravery and courage, one that Mila had played a big part in. Guard Liam stayed close to the king's float, watching the crowd carefully. He was alert but allowed himself a small smile when he glanced at Mila. She had shown incredible courage and quick thinking, and he wanted her to know that her actions had made a real difference. The little girl had not only noticed the suspicious man, but had also alerted him in time to prevent any danger. Liam knew that Mila's calm and clever thinking had saved the day. The king, seated on his golden float, waved to the crowd with a warm and friendly smile. He looked happy and calm, unaware of the secret events that had just unfolded. Liam made sure the final moments of the parade went smoothly, while Mila stayed behind the crowd barrier watching every detail. She felt proud that she had helped keep everyone safe. Suddenly, the crowd near the barriers began whispering excitedly. Some of the children pointed at Mila and whispered to their friends. "Look at her," one little girl said. "She is so brave." Mila turned her head and saw curious eyes looking her way. At first she felt shy, but then she realized that people were noticing her courage. A warm feeling of pride filled her heart. She had never done anything for attention, yet her actions were being quietly appreciated by the crowd. Liam noticed the whispers too. He walked toward Mila and knelt down so that he could speak to her without anyone noticing. "Mila," he said softly, "you were very brave today. You helped protect the king and the entire parade. How many people could have done what you did?" Mila's eyes widened and a small smile spread across her face. She felt proud and happy. She had acted quickly and carefully, and now she was being recognized for her courage. The performers on the floats continued their routines, but Mila could see some of the dancers glancing at her with friendly smiles. Even the musicians who had been busy with their instruments gave her small nods of respect. Mila realized that courage could be quiet and unnoticed, but it could still inspire others. She had learned that even a little person could make a big difference when they paid attention and acted wisely. The suspicious man had been escorted away by the guards earlier, and now everything was calm and peaceful. The parade moved slowly toward the palace gates, finishing with a grand display of colors and music. The people cheered louder than ever, and the king raised his hand in a final wave. Mila felt a mixture of relief, pride, and excitement. She had helped make the parade safe, and she had also learned something important about herself. Liam stayed close to Mila as the parade ended. He gave her a warm smile and handed her a small flower from the king's float. "For you," he said softly. "A little gift for your courage." Mila took the flower carefully, feeling the soft petals against her fingers. She realized that bravery was not about being big or strong. It was about noticing what others might miss, acting wisely and helping those in need. As the crowd slowly dispersed, Mila stood quietly near the palace gates. She looked up at the bright blue sky and smiled. Today had been more than a celebration. It had been an adventure, a test of courage, and a lesson in the power of even the smallest actions. She had sent a simple ribbon signal, and it had changed the outcome of the day. And so the grand parade ended, leaving behind music, laughter, and cheers. But for Mila, it left behind something even greater. The knowledge that she could make a difference, no matter her size or age, and that courage often begins with small, careful actions that lead to big results. The sun was beginning to set over the kingdom of Solara, casting a warm golden light across the streets. The grand parade had finally come to an end. Floats were being guided back to the palace grounds. Musicians packed their instruments and performers smiled and waved at the remaining crowd. For most people, it had been a wonderful celebration filled with music, colors, and laughter. But for Mila, today had been much more than a parade. It had been a day of courage, quick thinking, and unexpected heroism. Mila clutched her basket of flowers and walked slowly along the path leading away from the parade route. Her eyes sparkled with excitement as she remembered how everything had unfolded. The suspicious man, her secret ribbon signal, and guard Liam's quick response. She had acted without thinking of fame or recognition, and yet her actions had kept the king and the people safe. She felt proud and a little grown up, as if she had discovered a courage inside herself she never knew existed. Guard Liam appeared beside her, walking carefully so as not to attract attention from the crowd. He smiled warmly at Mila. "You were amazing today," he said quietly. "Not many adults could have noticed what you did, let alone a little girl. You helped protect the kingdom, and you did it wisely." Mila's cheeks turned pink and she smiled shyly. She had never imagined that her small ribbon and her attention to detail could make such a difference. The king, now back inside the palace grounds, sent a royal messenger to find Mila. Soon a gentle voice called her name, and Mila looked up to see a small crowd of palace attendants approaching. One of them handed her a beautiful golden badge shaped like a star. "This is for you, Mila," the attendant said. "The king wants to honor your courage today. You helped protect the kingdom with bravery and intelligence, and he wants everyone to know it." Mila's eyes widened. She took the badge carefully, feeling its weight and the smooth surface of the gold. She had never received anything so special. Her heart swelled with pride, but she also felt a quiet happiness knowing she had helped without expecting anything in return. The kingdom had recognized her courage, and she realized that doing the right thing was always worth it. Liam knelt down beside Mila, adjusting the small ribbon on her basket. "You see, Mila," he said softly, "bravery is not about being the strongest or the fastest. It is about noticing what others might miss, thinking quickly and helping when it matters most. Today you showed all of that, and everyone here is proud of you." Mila nodded, holding the badge tightly in her hands. She felt a warmth inside her, a confidence she had never felt before. The crowd of children near the parade route began clapping and cheering quietly. They had watched everything happen, and now they understood why Mila had been so special. Some of them ran forward to give her small flowers they had collected, while others whispered words of admiration. Mila smiled and thanked them politely, feeling a sense of friendship and connection. She realized that courage could inspire others even in ways she had never imagined. The evening grew calmer as the sun dipped below the horizon. The streets of Solara were quiet again, filled only with the soft murmurs of the departing crowd. Mila walked slowly with Liam by her side, thinking about the events of the day. She understood now that bravery often came in small packages: a ribbon, a careful glance, a quick decision, and that even the smallest person could make a huge difference. As they approached the palace gates, Mila looked back at the streets where the parade had been. The banners were being taken down and the floats were being guided into storage. The music had faded, but the memory of the parade and the adventure it had brought would stay with her forever. She knew she had discovered something important about herself. Courage, attention, and kindness could change the world, one small action at a time. Liam gave her one last smile before waving goodbye. "Remember, Mila," he said, "the kingdom will always be proud of you. And so will I." Mila smiled back, her eyes shining in the golden light. She felt ready for anything. Today had been a parade, an adventure, and a lesson in bravery. Tomorrow would bring new opportunities, but she knew she would carry the courage she had discovered with her forever. And so, as the evening settled over Solara, Mila walked home, clutching her basket and her golden star badge, proud, brave, and ready for the adventures yet to come. The kingdom would always remember the little girl who gave a secret signal, saved the parade, and showed that even the smallest person could do great things.